Exposed, the incredible journey of the 100,000 middle-class families reclaiming their dreams. Maplewood was once a town bustling with hope. The sound of children laughing in the streets and the smell of weekend barbecues filled the air. But as Sarah and Mike Johnson stared out at their modest home, that dream felt more like an illusion. Bills mounted on the kitchen counter, taunting them like shadows of doubt. Each month, they scraped by, hoping that their dedication to hard work would be enough for their bright kids, Lily and Jake. Yet, it seemed like the American dream was slipping through their fingers like sand. "Mom, can we get pizza tonight?" Lily piped up, her innocent eyes wide with hope. Mike exchanged a weary glance with Sarah. "We'll see, sweetie," Sarah replied with a tight smile. Inside, her heart clenched. They could barely afford groceries, let alone takeout. That night, a familiar weight pressed down on them, wrapping around their hearts like a dark storm cloud over Maplewood Point. One evening, passion flared at the local church community meeting. "We can't keep waiting for change." Sarah's voice echoed, capturing the attention of those in attendance. "We need to invest in ourselves. Let us organize workshops on financial literacy and job preparedness." The room erupted with murmurs of doubt from a few affluent members. "Do you really think that hard work is enough anymore?" One scoffed, brushing her off dismissively. But among skepticism, Sarah felt a fierce fire ignite within her. She would prove them wrong. Their dreams were worth fighting for. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As Sarah stepped into her newfound role, her determination lifted the community like a bright star against the night. More families joined her cause, seeking a path to reclaim their dreams. But within her own family, the struggle was also raw. Mike, working late hours, became increasingly distant, caught between work and his own aspirations. Lily felt the embarrassment creep in when her friends flaunted luxuries she couldn't have. And then there was Jake, whose silence spoke volumes, questioning if he measured up without the latest gadgets. The tension at home thickened like storm clouds. Just as they began to find a rhythm, Sarah stumbled upon a scheme by a local politician looking to cut funding for their community programs. Panic surged through her. Would this burden rip apart everything they had fought for? Temptation loomed: defend her principles and risk her vision, or compromise to keep the peace. Suddenly, an unexpected betrayal shattered her resolve. Doubts echoed through Maplewood, shaking the foundation of the very community that had rallied around her. Now, standing on the edge of uncertainty, with the fight pressing against her spirit, Sarah took a deep breath. What would this fight cost? Could they truly reclaim the American dream? With her heart pounding, she braced herself. What happened next would alter the fabric of their lives forever. The following weeks were a whirlwind for Sarah. The community's initial enthusiasm began to wane, as whispers of discontent grew louder. Families who had once rallied behind her now exchanged nervous glances, uncertain of their commitment. The betrayal weighed heavily on her heart. She felt like a ship sailing against a relentless storm, its sails flapping wildly, the compass spinning aimlessly. One evening, after a long day of organizing workshops on budgeting and resume writing, Sarah found herself alone at the kitchen table. The sunlight had faded, leaving the room dim and silent. She stared at the bills, their edges crisp and accusing. With a sigh, she turned to a notepad, its pages filled with ideas that felt increasingly far-fetched. The dreams she once ignited in others now flickered like a candle threatening to extinguish. What if I really can't do this? She whispered, her voice barely a murmur. Across town, Mike was battling his own struggles. As each day blurred into another, his overtime hours took a toll on their family life. One night, he came home only to find the kids already asleep, a stark reminder of how fleeting time had become. A knot formed in his stomach. He loved working hard for his family, yet why did it feel like he was losing them? He wanted to talk to Sarah, share his doubts, but fear kept him quiet. He felt trapped in a loop of obligations with no escape in sight. At breakfast the next day, an uncomfortable silence loomed over the table. Lily refused to touch her cereal, and Jake fiddled with his phone, his eyes distant. It was Sarah who broke the tension first, attempting a smile. "What do you think about a pizza night this weekend?" she suggested, half-heartedly. "Sure," Lily replied, but her tone was flat. Jake shrugged, barely looking up. As the day wore on, Sarah decided she needed to reignite the flame in their family. That evening, she gathered Lily and Jake for a movie night just like they used to. She found an old blanket, spread it on the living room floor, and took out their favorite snacks. They snuggled under the fabric, but even as laughter flickered back, she sensed the walls around them were still thick. After the movie, as the credits rolled, Sarah glanced at her kids. "Hey, can we talk about dreams?" she ventured, hoping to light a spark. "What do you want to achieve this year?" "We just want fun things," Jake replied, a hint of defiance in his voice. "Like what?" Sarah pushed gently, sensing the opportunity to connect. "Fancy tech and fun outings," Lily chimed in, her brows furrowing. "What if we set some family goals?" Sarah suggested, rallying her spirit. "Things we can work on together. We could aim for something special, a trip or even a dinner at that new pizza place." Their eyes lit up momentarily, then dimmed again. "Mom, you know we can't afford that," Jake muttered, and for a moment, Sarah's heart sank further. Suddenly, a fire ignited within her. "But what if we found a way? What if we raised the money as a family? We could do it together." She felt the shift, the small glimmer of hope returning. The idea took root, and as they began to discuss their passions, Lily's interest in art and Jake's knack for music, they began to brighten. The laughter returned, and slowly, they began to dream together. Still, in the back of her mind, the worry nagged at Sarah like an uninvited guest. What if their dreams became just that, dreams? As she tucked her kids in, she couldn't shake the feeling that the fight was far from over. Would their familial bond be enough to weather the storm ahead? Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows as Sarah glanced at the once vibrant Maplewood. She knew she had to rally the community again, but the stakes were higher than ever. They wouldn't just be fighting for dreams anymore, they would be battling for their very survival. With a heart full of determination, Sarah prepared for the challenge ahead, unaware that betrayal would emerge again in the most unexpected way. What would it cost to save what remained of their family's dreams? The days that followed seemed like an endless loop of meetings, planning sessions, and driving conversations. Sarah felt the weight of everyone's expectations pressing down on her. She tried to rally the community again, setting up a gathering at the local community center. She could still see the faces of those who had once believed in her, but now they looked weary and worn, their trust strung taut like a fraying rope. On the night of the gathering, she stood behind a makeshift podium, her heart pounding in rhythm with the murmurs in the room. As she glanced around, she noted the conversation flitting between the old friends, the newcomers, and the skeptics. Would this night be different? Would she manage to inspire them once more? "Thank you all for coming," Sarah began, her voice shaky but filled with resolve. "I know times are tough, and many are feeling the pressure. But I believe that together, we are strong enough to make a difference." As she spoke, she noticed Mike in the back, arms crossed, fingers drumming against his bicep. Each tap reverberated in her mind like a warning bell. He had come despite his hesitation, and for that, she felt grateful. She had been anxious for his support, but he remained quiet, his face unreadable. "I propose we start small," Sarah continued, gaining momentum. "We could host a community bake sale, a talent show, anything that ignites our spirits. Let us share our gifts and passions, raise funds, and create a support system while we're at it. A few people nodded, while others remained stoic. Just as Sarah began to feel that little spark of unity, a familiar voice cut through the air. But how did we end up in this position? We need bigger answers, not bake sales. It was Frank, the self-appointed leader for some time now. His voice turned heads, igniting murmurs of agreement. What's the point in raising a few dollars when it feels like the weight of the world is on our shoulders? The word sent a ripple of anxiety through the crowd. Doubt slowly crept back, mingling with the energy that had just begun to build. Sarah felt her heart drop, realizing that fear had returned, threatening to extinguish the glimmer of hope she had sparked. She took a breath, tapping into her resilience. I know it's not just about raising money, Frank. It's about coming together, showing our kids what it means to stand for our dreams, no matter how small they might seem right now. The room quieted, and for a moment, hope flickered between them. But Mike stepped forward, tension visible in his shoulders. And what happens when the money is gone? What about our security? Can we really afford to put ourselves out there like that? His voice shook with concern, and Sarah saw the fear behind his words. Mike, she began softly, but he cut her off. Look, I want to support you, but what about the risks? We can't just chase dreams when reality is hitting us harder every day. The struggle in the room was palpable. Sarah felt her own uncertainty rising within her. Everyone was searching for certainty, but she had none to offer. The conversation spiraled, frustrations boiling over as voices mixed and clashed. She thought she saw a glimmer of resolve in some faces, but it quickly faded into the shadows of doubt. Would her push for action only bring them more pain? Finally, she raised her voice above the chaos. I believe in us. I believe that we deserve to dream. But I can't do this alone. I need each of you to join me. Let us ignite that fire together, and let us not let fear write our story. As the room fell silent, Sarah searched their eyes for reaction. And then, slowly, hesitantly, hands began to lift, some fists shaking as if in agreement. But just when Sarah thought she had piqued their interest, the door swung open. The chill of the night crept into the warmth of the room, and a figure stood silhouetted in the doorway. It was Will, a man who had distanced himself from the group when things got tough. He stepped forward, looking tense and ready for confrontation. What are you all doing here? You've got it all wrong. You're just chasing shadows. A wave of murmurs undercut the solidarity they had almost grasped. Fear, uncertainty, and now betrayal loomed like a dark cloud over their budding optimism. Was this the end of her dreams for the community? As Sarah's heart raced, she realized they had no choice but to face this new challenge head-on. What did Will know that they didn't? And how could she bring everyone together once and for all, before it all fell apart completely? A thick tension filled the air as Will stepped further into the community center, his presence rippling through the crowd. Sarah's heart raced, the weight of his accusations tugging at her stomach. Chasing shadows? She echoed, her voice steady though her insides trembled. We're trying to build something real here, Will. Something we can hold on to. He shook his head, dismissively. And what is that going to do? Bake sales? Talent shows? Those are distractions. Look around you, Sarah. The town is crumbling. You can't save it with good intentions and songs. The murmurs grew louder again, voices rising in indignation. Sarah scanned the room, searching for support. Did they really believe that her ideas were trivial? Behind her, Mike had gritted his teeth, his own uncertainties casting shadows on his face. She could feel the divide forming a fissure that threatened to undo everything they tried to accomplish. Will, I get it, she appealed, trying to reach him. You want bigger solutions, but where do we start? If we can't inspire the people here to step forward and believe in themselves, how can we ever think about rebuilding anything? But Will stood firm, fists clenching at his sides. In the real world, inspiration 1T pay the bills. It 1T keep our families safe. We need a plan, something tangible. I'm talking about unity. Sarah replied, the frustration bubbling behind her calm facade. Without unity, all the plans in the world mean nothing. We want to make this a place where hope is more than just a word we throw around. In that moment, a woman from the front, Clara, spoke up. You're right, Will, but Sarah makes a point. We can't wait for everything to be perfect before we take steps forward. Her voice quivered but held weight. Maybe we are just scared to dream again. We've lost so much already. The flicker of support ignited hope in Sarah's chest. Yes. Exactly. She encouraged. This is about more than money. This is about family, resilience, pride. Do we want to teach our kids that despair is the only choice? I refuse to let that be our legacy. Mike stepped forward, and Sarah held her breath. I like what you're saying, but how do we protect ourselves? What if we fail again? His voice was thick with worry, the questions that plagued their minds echoing through the room. Sarah took a moment, feeling that familiar sting of vulnerability. We 1T fail not if we support one another. Yes, we might face setbacks, but if we do it together, we can learn. We can stand up again. Isn't that worth fighting for? Will shifted, uncertainty flickering across his face. You think a few events will change the course of this town? We need influence. We need something concrete. We start with our hearts, Sarah countered, determination surging through her. From there, anything is possible. What if we made it more? What if the bake sale becomes a springboard for ideas? We can gather momentum. We are more than a single event. The room held its breath. She could see the scales tipping, see doubt shifting into intrigue. Clara nodded in agreement, and soon others began to murmur support, building an undercurrent of encouragement. Then, suddenly, Will's head snapped up, a glint of realization flashing across his face. You mean if we can show we still care, we might attract attention? Help? Resources to actually do something real? Yes. Sarah felt a rush of exhilaration. Exactly. But we must stand together first. We can't let fear dictate our choices anymore. Just then, a young boy's voice piped up from the back of the room. I don't care about bake sales. I want to win. Every eye turned toward the child, the innocence piercing through their heavy hearts. The room exploded into laughter, breaking the tension. Sarah saw families begin to smile, to lighten. But then, Will straightened. Okay, I'm in. But I'm not doing a bake sale. We better make this worthwhile. And just like that, a new spark caught fire. As they began to brainstorm ideas together, Sarah felt a rush of warmth flood her chest. What had felt impossible moments ago now seemed tangible for the first time, but in the growing excitement, a trembling voice echoed from the back again, but what if it's too late? The wistful question hung in the air, a quiet reminder amidst their hope. Had they already wandered too far down the path of despair? What awaited them if they didn't act quickly enough? The laughter faded, replaced by a thick silence. Sarah felt every gaze settle back on her, the weight of the boy's innocence resting heavily on her shoulders. The room, once filled with inspiring possibilities, fell into uncertainty once more. Will spoke first, his voice low but steady. We can't afford to think like that. Time isn't on our side, and I don't want to repeat the same mistakes. His frankness stung. But we all want something better. Clara countered. We have to try. Every moment we wait just makes it worse. I wish I could believe that, Mike murmured, shrugging slightly. But belief alone doesn't fix things. Sarah's heart sank. Could there be truth in what they said? Would optimism be enough to plant seeds of change? They needed a plan, but not just any plan, one that would capture everyone's hearts. Let us brainstorm, then, Sarah suggested, her voice shaking slightly. What if we launched a series of events that not only bring us together but also appeal to those outside our community, showing them we're fighting? Murmurs of agreement began to swirl. Ideas started to bubble up: a festival celebrating local businesses, a sports tournament fundraising for community needs, even art fairs showcasing talents from within. Imagine! Sarah said, her excitement growing. We pull people in through music, food, and talent. That's the bridge. It's about community spirit and bringing in those who can help us. As she spoke, her hands moved in rhythm, painting a picture that she could feel, growing colors of hope swirling and spilling into the room. People shifted forward in their seats, eyes lighting up as though each person was a small spark being ignited. I like it. But we need a theme, something to wrap it all around. Clara's voice was animated now, as she leaned into the conversation. Resilience. Sarah burst out, a smile breaking across her face. We can call it the Resilience Festival. We'll highlight the strength of our community. It's not just about making money, it's about celebrating who we are and how far we've come. The crowd's energy surged, a wave of enthusiasm cascading through them. Will remained skeptical but intrigued, the gears in his mind visibly turning. Yet amidst the clamor, the trembling voice from earlier broke through again, shadowing the optimism. But what if nobody cares? What if nobody comes? What if after all this, we just fall again? Laughter and excitement halted like a sudden thunderstorm breaking through a sunny day. The boy's fear echoed through the room. Every hope was suddenly clouded by reality. Did they have what it took to actually pull this off? I care! Shouted the young boy, his small fists clenched at his sides. I want to win, and I want everyone to know we're not just nothing. We matter. His fierce determination ignited a fire in the room. That raw, unfiltered desire to be heard brought a wave of emotion. Sarah knew they were at a crossroads now: either move forward or risk losing everything they had worked for. Well then, Will finally said, a flicker of a smile breaking across his stoic face. Let us make them care. What started as a small spark now burned brightly. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes in this moment of unity, but alongside that joy rose a thunderous heartbeat of dread. What if their efforts fell flat? What if their dreams collided with the harshness of reality? As the group began to gather their thoughts and outline the festival, Sarah couldn't shake the looming question. Was this really the right path, or were they setting themselves up for another heartbreak? But there was no retreat now. She looked around the room, faces filled with hope and determination, and thought maybe, just maybe, this time they could create something real. With heavy but hopeful hearts, they dove into plans, leaving behind the lingering doubts. Yet as excitement surged, the door to the center opened. A newcomer entered, and the atmosphere shifted again. Who were they? And what did this mean for the festival? That question hung in the air, and Sarah's hope wrestled with a familiar sense of uneasiness. The newcomer stepped inside, their silhouette framed by the harsh light of the setting sun. A hush settled, every eye gravitating towards this unexpected arrival. Among the group, murmurs rippled like wind through grass, curiosity and caution merging. The stranger was tall, with a well-worn jacket that seemed to carry stories of its own. They scanned the room, and for a moment, it felt as if time stood still. Sarah could feel her heart quicken, a mix of anticipation and anxiety tightening in her chest. Hi, the newcomer said, their voice calm yet resonant. I'm Alex. I heard about your plans. The Resilience Festival, right? I think it's a great idea. Will crossed his arms, skepticism still etched on his face. You think? We're just figuring this out. Aren't you a little late to the party? Alex smiled, but it didn't reach their eyes. I get it. Panic and doubt, it's overwhelming. But I'm here to help. The word help hung in the air like a lifeline. It begged for acceptance, igniting a flicker of hope within the group. But as Sarah looked around, she noticed Clara's face scrunching in suspicion, and Will's brows knitting tightly together. "Why should we trust you?" Clara challenged, her voice steady but tinged with doubt. "We all want to believe, but trust isn't something given away so easily." "Fair point," Alex conceded, gesturing towards a vacant chair. "Let us start over. I have experience organizing events that have brought communities together. I know how to make people care." "Sounds interesting," Mike interjected, shifting in his seat. "But what exactly do you suggest?" "Assemble a team," Alex replied, "and bring your ideas to life. I've helped turn small gatherings into impactful festivals before. Connections matter, it's about reaching people outside the community." The word connections sparked something in Sarah. She had been so focused on their walls, their struggles, that the idea of building bridges to the outside world felt like a fresh breeze in a stuffy room. "What do you mean by connections?" Sarah spoke up, her voice brighter. "Like sponsors or partnerships?" "Exactly," Alex nodded. "People want to support what matters. They care about stories, about hope. If you can show that you have spirit, they'll rally behind you. I can help you find those people." The crowd leaned in, the air thick with energy again. Hope flickered in many eyes. It was hard not to feel it. Sarah could sense walls beginning to crumble, hearts softening as they entertained this new possibility. "But what's in it for you?" Will remained cautious, crossing his arms tightly across his chest. "You're not just doing this for free, right?" "I'm doing it because I believe," Alex replied, a hint of fire now bursting through. "I grew up in a community like yours, and I know what it's like to fight for what matters. We all deserve blooms to come from our struggles." The group quieted, the impact of their words resonating. Sarah felt heat build just behind her eyes as Alex's story felt so real, so relatable. The pulse of the room shifted, vulnerability turned into something almost palpable. "What if we fail?" Clara asked, her bravado slipping for a moment. "What if you soar?" Alex shot back, confidence vibrating with every syllable. "It's a risk, yes. But what's the alternative? Staying in silence? Living in fear and uncertainty? You're already on the edge, make it count." The energy in the room shifted once more, igniting a chorus of murmurs and exclamations. For the first time, the fear of failure felt overshadowed by the thrill of possibility, yet, in that moment of rising spirits, a flash of doubt crept back into Sarah's heart. Were they truly ready to venture into the unknown? Could they open themselves to both help and potential heartbreak? As the group began to form ideas around Alex's proposal, Sarah felt both exhilarated and terrified. The path ahead glimmered with potential, but shadows of uncertainty loomed larger than ever. "Let us take a leap of faith," she finally said, her voice firm but laced with emotion. Together. On this shaky precipice of hope and anxiety, they took their first steps toward the festival, not knowing whether they would rise to the sky or fall into the abyss, but as plans solidified around the newcomer, another question nestled in the back of Sarah's mind, refusing to be ignored. Would they be ready for whatever storm was brewing just out of sight? And with that, the night deepened, its whispers mingling with fervent hopes and quiet fears, each heartbeat counting down to the festival and the challenges that lay ahead. The excitement in the room created a tension that felt almost electric. As Sarah glanced around, she saw it reflected in everyone's faces, the exhilaration of an uncharted adventure combined with the weight of apprehension. The impending festival was more than just an event, it was a chance for them all to express, to feel alive again. "All right," Will said, breaking the comfortable silence. "If we're doing this, we need a plan. We can't just wing it." His voice was firm, a protective force against the wave of enthusiasm. Alex nodded. "Exactly. A plan is essential. What are the core ideas you want to focus on? What themes resonate with your community?" Sarah felt a surge of energy. "We have so many stories to tell. Stories of resilience, struggles, dreams. Her mind raced with the possibilities. How about we center the festival around hope? It can be a platform for voices that deserve to be heard. Yeah. Mike chimed in, clapping his hands excitedly. We could have local artists, musicians, even storytellers share their experiences. It'll highlight what we've been through and how far we can go together. That could work, Clara said, her doubts softening. But we'll need volunteers. People to help set everything up, manage the logistics. Let us reach out to local schools, community centers, and social media groups, Alex suggested. The more people involved, the stronger the sense of community. It turns into a collective vision. Feeling buoyed by the momentum, Sarah spoke up again, her voice steadily gaining confidence. We can create a calendar with milestones. We need to mark deadlines for every task. Setting goals will keep us organized and focused. The room buzzed with chatter as names were tossed out, ideas bounced around like pinballs. The mere act of planning transformed their apprehensions into commitments, turning indifference into action. Each new thought was met with enthusiasm, something they hadn't felt in a long time, but as excitement surged, another shadow flickered in Sarah's mind. Would they all stay committed? Would they stand together when challenges arose? Let us do a brainstorming session then, Sarah proposed, a hint of gravity creeping back into her voice. We can meet every week to go over progress. That's a good idea, Clara agreed, her eyes alight with an unexpected hope. Okay, let's do this. With every idea shared, with scribbled notes piling higher, the doubts that had once bound them began to lift. Sarah caught Alex's smile, filled with pride, a warmth that wrapped around her like a favorite quilt. As they buzzed with plans, a sudden loud crash echoed from outside, startling them all. Sarah's heart raced as she turned towards the noise, her stomach dropping. The sound was jarring, an off note that sliced through their newfound harmony. Did you hear that? Will asked, his brow crinkled in concern. Yeah, Mike replied, exchanging glances with Clara. I hope it's nothing serious. Let us check it out, Alex suggested, a steadiness in their tone. With uncertainty thickening in the air again, they all stood up, the energy from earlier tinged with a sense of dread. What awaited them outside? An accident, a disaster, or perhaps even a sign that their budding hope was about to face its first real test? As they moved towards the door, heartbeats synchronized with pauses of breath, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The festival might yet be a place of joy and connection, but the storm brewing outside threatened to turn everything upside down. What if this is a prelude to something we can't control? She thought, as they stepped into the unknown, feeling the electric promise of hope intertwining with the chilling breath of uncertainty. What awaited them outside could change everything they had dreamed of. As they stepped out into the crisp afternoon air, the sunlight gleamed off the scattered debris on the ground. It was then that Sarah noticed the makeshift stage they'd set up earlier for the festival resting awkwardly on its side, a metal pole dented and several banners torn. It looked like a war zone amidst their flourishing plans. What happened? Clara whispered, her voice barely a breath. I don't know, Mike replied, his eyes scanning the scene. The vibrant colors of the festival decorations now seemed dim, a stark contrast to the spirit that had filled the room moments ago. Worry flickered through the group like the erratic wind that stirred papers and dust around them. Will rushed forward, taking charge. Everyone, let us collect the banners and check for any injuries. We can fix this. In the chaos, Sarah felt a pang of frustration and dread wash over her. They were just starting to build something beautiful, and here was a blow that could crumble it all. She took a deep breath, pushing back against the wave of self-doubt threatening to overwhelm her. This wasn't just about a festival anymore, it was about their community, about resilience. Follow Will's lead. Sarah called out, her voice cutting sharply through the panic. We've faced challenges before. If we work together, we can clear this up and keep moving forward. Alex and Clara exchanged glances, a hint of rekindled determination glimmering in their eyes. Slowly, they gathered around Sarah, their shared commitment reforming like the pieces of the fallen stage. The group spread out, picking up scattered materials, binding torn banners with makeshift solutions. As bent metal was straightened and battered decorations salvaged, laughter began to bubble back up. They found humor in the absurdity of the situation, a banner declaring "Together we rise" now upside down in someone's hands, and a wild balloon flying off like it had a mind of its own. In those fleeting moments, the shadows of despair lightened under the glow of their camaraderie. Sarah felt hope re-emerging, not just a spontaneous decision but a promise stitched with laughter, grit, and vulnerability. "See?" Mike said, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. "Even a storm can't take us down." "Exactly." Clara chimed in, her confidence rejuvenated. "We're a community. We can handle anything together." The sun dipped lower, casting a warm glow over the reassembled team, the stage once again standing tall, albeit weathered. Finally, as they stepped back to admire their handiwork, Sarah spotted a blue paper amongst the debris, one of the festival flyers, crumpled but still intact. She picked it up, smoothed it with her hands, and held it out. "Look at this. We meant what we said here, a festival of hope. If we can face this disruption, imagine what we can do on Festival Day." Her heart surged as the group nodded, a collective spark igniting in their hearts, but beneath the energy, an echo of unease tunneled through Sarah's thoughts. What if this is just the beginning? She wondered, glancing back at the horizon, where dark clouds gathered ominously. "Let us keep the momentum going," Will suggested, clapping his hands. "We still have a festival to plan." Just then, a rumble of thunder rolled through the sky, a sharp reminder of the storm lurking beyond. Sarah's fingers tightened around the flyer as a stark realization washed over her. This first challenge had surfaced quickly, but there were bound to be more deeper issues ahead. As their laughter faded and serious glances were exchanged, the question hung heavy in the air: would they adapt and persevere when true adversity struck? Would their hope be strong enough to withstand the trials they hadn't yet foreseen? As the first drops of rain began to fall, Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of this new task settle on her shoulders. They had conquered this moment, but she couldn't shake the feeling that darker storms lay ahead. The festival was meant to shine, but could they weather any storm that came their way? And with that thought lingering in her mind, she looked towards the clouds, her heart racing with determination. What challenges would test their commitment next? The rain began as a gentle patter, but soon turned into a steady rhythm, each drop like a reminder of their pressing reality. The once vibrant festival preparations were now muted under the gray curtain of clouds. As the wind picked up, it howled through the trees, an ominous reminder of the challenges ahead. Sarah watched as droplets raced down the flyer she still clutched. The words, "a festival of hope," felt loaded with pressure now. She scanned the faces of her friends, their expressions a mixture of determination and worry. Will busied himself organizing the group, assigning tasks, his voice strong despite the swelling storm. But Sarah could see the tension in the set of his jaw. The uncertainties were starting to weigh heavily on him too. "Okay, team," Will called out, his voice rising above the wind. "Let us get the tent secured, and then we can regroup. I know it's wet, but we've got a festival to bring to life." The group scattered again, scrambling to tie down what they could. Sarah dove into the task, but her mind kept drifting back to the flyer. Each pass of her fingers over its wrinkled surface was a touchstone. This event was meant to unite them, a beacon of hope for the community. But now, she felt that hope slipping away, replaced by doubts and fears. Clara, who was nearby wrestling with a stubborn tarp, caught Sarah's eye. "Hey! Focus on the now. We're going to get through this." Her voice was bright, carrying a sincerity that cracked through Sarah's gloom. "Right," Sarah replied, forcing a smile. She appreciated Clara's unwavering spirit. It was that energy that fueled them, even in scrambling moments. "Let us do this." With renewed determination, they worked together, laughter punctuating the rainfall as they struggled against tarps that flapped like wild creatures in the wind. The storm raged on around them, but inside their bubble, the spirit of camaraderie began to fortify their resolve. As they secured the last tarp, the rain slowed, revealing a glimmer of sun breaking through the clouds. There was a moment of peace as they stood together, breathless and soaked, but smiling. "That's more like it," Mike said, shaking water from his hair like a dog. "Turns out a little rain can't stop us." "Or a lot," Clara chimed, elbowing him playfully, but as the sun glistened off the pooling water, Sarah felt a twinge of unease again. What if this storm were just the precursor? It wasn't just about the festival anymore, it was about the strength of their community against everything that life might throw at them. Suddenly, an electric crackle pierced the air, followed by a fierce bolt of lightning dancing across the sky. A palpable tension fell over the group. They weren't prepared for this level of storm. Panic flickered in eyes where confidence had just bloomed. "Everyone, get to the pavilion," Will shouted, his tone urgent. "We need to keep everyone out of harm's way." They dashed for cover, laughter replaced by a rush of adrenaline, hearts pounding. Once inside the sturdy pavilion, the sound of the storm echoed around them, but the warmth of their shared presence offered assurance against the chaos outside. Now huddled together under the shelter, Sarah could see the worry etched across her friends' faces, fear mingling with determination. The question loomed larger: how would they cope if this storm didn't pass? And would they find a way to rise, not just as individuals, but as a whole community? As the downpour continued, a sense of unease settled over Sarah's heart. Would they withstand this test, or was this just the beginning of the challenges they'd have to face? Just then, Clara offered a small, hopeful smile despite the storm's fury. "Whatever happens, we'll find a way. Together." Sarah felt a flicker of hope ignite within her, but she couldn't shake the feeling that the real storm, the real test of their unity, was still ahead. How would they handle the trials that were yet to come? Would this festival, meant to celebrate hope, turn into a battleground of resilience? The storm raged around them, wind howling like a beast unleashed. The pavilion stood firm, sheltering the group as they huddled together, hearts beating in unison. Each drop of rain splattered against the roof like a yearning for release, a stark reminder of the struggles they faced. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of her friends surround her, their unwavering spirit a balm against the chaos outside. "Let us use this time," Will said, his voice rising just above the din. "Let us remember why we're here and what we're fighting for." The determined glint in his eyes mirrored the collective resolve flooding the room. "Right," Sarah chimed in, her heart swelling. "This storm might be fierce, but it can't dampen our vision. Let us brainstorm ideas we can implement even if it's just to keep our spirits alive." As silence settled in, they began sharing snippets of their most cherished dreams, laying out their hopes and aspirations like a tapestry stretching beyond the limits of their challenges. Lily's bright voice cut through the noise. "Can we include a mural painting at the festival? It could symbolize our unity." Jake chimed in with wide eyes, "Yeah. And we could use art to tell our stories." "Yes." Clara beamed, her enthusiasm contagious. "We can make it interactive. Let everyone add their own piece." Amidst the swirling thoughts filled with dreams, the storm outside felt like a metaphor for what lay ahead. They knew that just as the storm was powerful, so were they when they came together, forging ahead through fear and uncertainty, determined to reclaim their dreams. But as ideas flowed, Sarah's heart tightened. Would everyone truly stand firm when the storm subsided? She glanced at Mike, worry etched across his features. And then, like bright sun breaking through the clouds, he smiled. "Okay, let us really make this happen," he said, his voice steady. "We'll need each other more than ever. We've faced worse storms inside and out." With that, they laid plans against the shadows of doubt, creating a path that illuminated hope and community. Each heartbeat resounded with purpose, feeling less like a group of individuals and more like a resilient family, bound by their passion and determination. As rain pounded down on the roof, laughter began to fill the space, a sweet liberation as they transformed anxiety into laughter. The storm wasn't just an obstacle, it was a catalyst driving their aspirations. Together we're unstoppable. Sarah shouted, exhilarated by the synergy unfolding in their midst. Outside, the clouds began to break, their fury lessening as if responding to the resolve emanating from within the pavilion. But as the wind softened, Sarah felt a familiar weight settle in her chest. Would they be ready for what came next? When the storm finally passed, a glimmer of light poured through the small windows, illuminating the faces filled with hope and solidarity. With a trembling hand, Sarah lifted the soggy flyer again, its words speaking volumes. It was indeed a call to resilience. Now more than ever, they stepped outside into the aftermath, eyes wide as they took in the devastation. Debris was strewn all over, but soon, their laughter intertwined with the sound of the birds returning to life, offering each of them a sense of rebirth amidst the wreckage. "Time to clean up," Will said, determination glowing in his eyes, "but first, let us not forget what we talked about. We now have our plan." And they rallied, cleaning and rebuilding with laser focus, each piece a building block for their festival, their community. Sarah felt a swell of pride watching them unite, lifting one another up. Days flowed into weeks, and with every passing moment closer to the festival, Sarah's heart brimmed with anticipation. They'd transformed setbacks into their foundation, embracing the values that had emerged amidst the chaos. The festival day dawned bright and beautiful, a canvas painted with the hope they had fought for. Their community strolled into the vibrant scene filled with laughter, art, music, and resilience, a testament to their journey. As Sarah looked around, eyes shining with joyful tears, she felt the pulse of something bigger than themselves. With Mike by her side, and their children laughing, she embraced the realization, they had reclaimed their dreams not just for themselves, but for Maplewood. "Together we thrive," she called out to the crowd, her voice ringing through the air like music. Cheers erupted, echoing off the colorful banners that represented each voice, each tale woven into the fabric of their lives. In that moment, every doubt faded into insignificance. They weren't just celebrating a festival, they were honoring their collective journey. As laughter and joy floated through the air, Sarah felt a warmth fill her heart, a radiant smile breaking forth. They had forged their destiny together. And, hand in hand, they continued to rise against the storm, ready for whatever was ahead. So here's the deal, you need to subscribe now to catch every ounce of this inspiring journey and all the exclusive stories that await. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm and help spread this incredible message of resilience. And don't wait not even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Everyone deserves to be inspired. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your voice matters.